Welcome everybody to this week's Swarf and Chip, sponsored by Interco. This is going to be a great show because there is that much equipment here that there's very few of around the world. So it's a really unique place, isn't it, Reacton Fire Suppression?
Yep, we've got in what is a relatively modest building, we have some pretty advanced bits of equipment.
It's going to be awesome. Let's take a look. This is Ed, by the way. He's the craziest character I think I've met since being at MTD.
Is that a compliment?
Yeah, it is, right. It is, it's kind of a compliment. Right, okay, so before we see some amazing equipment, in fact there's a CMM in there that's like 4-in-1, is that right?
Yeah, it's Bativision's 4-in-1 CMM.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But we're going to talk about that in a moment. These are some of the parts that you're making. Tell us about the company.
So, what we primarily make is automatic fire suppression equipment for critical assets. So a good example of that is buses. We do a lot of automatic bus fire suppression systems, plant, fire protection systems for CNC machines like you've seen today. So a huge amount of what we do or what we build around is like a common component, and then we adapt various different components to the different applications they go on. So we designed, or most of the components you're seeing and holding were all designed to fit on a sliding head machine. You know, some advice we got very early on in terms of keeping obviously production costs relatively low and a precision relatively high. So there's various different components you see on the table. All of those components plus about another 50, 60 components are all machined on the Star machines here.
It's honestly, I think what's interesting is how big this company is globally.
Yeah.
From here, it's incredible, and you've taken everything in house as well, haven't you?
We have, yeah, and I think as we see the vision is in order to really meet the culture we put through the business, we have to keep the quality where we want it to be.
Yeah.
These parts compared to competitor parts are toleranced very tightly. They're incredibly high performance for the size that they are. You know, often you'd see an equivalent from our style of competitors that could be twice, 3 times the size, the components. So we did cram a lot in. There's some complex features in the parts, but what it does is it gives us a huge range of options on the parts.
Yes.
From a relatively small package.
And control. Right, okay, let's go into the CMM room. There's a lot of equipment to show you, and Ed can talk. He's a very good talker.
I'm going to talk about CMMs.
Yeah. Right, okay. Now, you might have, eagle-eyed amongst you, might have seen a part in there that was laser etched, but there was something unique about it. There was colour on it. How on earth does that happen? Come on, come here. Let's
spoke to these guys, Lotus Laser Systems. They're actually only based 20 minutes from us here. Again, I'm a big supplier champion, and I gauge people very quickly on the phone, whether it's so I'll take your number and someone may or may not call you back. The guys that I spoke to immediately, local guys, got on well with them, told them what we wanted to do, sent them some pictures on WhatsApp just to say this is what we need to do. And he said, have you ever thought about colour? And I thought, no, but talk to me.
I've never seen it. No. Yeah. Never seen it.
And demoed it, came down, took a couple of parts, brought the sample back. And then the MTDCNC laser that we've got here will do an array of colours. It's a 60-watt laser, but again, it's a brand new bit of equipment. It allows us to laser etch our parts. That's important for us because, again, it gives that quality finish and quality appeal, but also is good for like batch and serialisation tracing. So we know all of our products, traceability, all our products we make a machine are all traceable, all the cylinders are traceable. So, but it just helps also training because people know the part they've got in their hand because it's got a part number on it.
Honestly, this company, I love some of your work ethics as well because Ed will say, like, what is it you said about the fact that you want to invest in the latest equipment, you want to create autonomy? Like, what are some of the basics of like why you're running this company? Because I tell you what, they've got some of the newest, latest equipment in here, brand spanking new. Anyone, you know, starting out in industry would love to work here.
Yeah, and I think the thing for us is everything's tailored around sliding head machines.
Yeah.
So we don't need a big CMM because our parts are small. So, you know, some like for example behind us, the XT3030
really cool.
4-in-1 like sort of CMM I'm sure there's a really good name for it that I can't remember.
Don't worry.
But effectively, what it gives us the ability to do is it's a microscope, it's a camera system, it's a shadow graph, and it's obviously got probing based as well. So what it enables John in the machine shop to do is stick 5-6 parts on the table, go away, come back, the machine's measured all 6 parts, and he's got a report.
Yeah.
One of the best things about it is we design in SolidWorks in 3D, and instead of going to 2D for measurement, everything here is 3D. So the 3D models come across to here. Also allows us to do retrospective measurement on different parts, reverse engineering. We can build, this can take a part that's 3D and make a 3D model from its measurements, you know, and it's what I would describe it as is a very user-friendly system. Again, trying to get more people, younger people, into engineering.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, you know, it's trying to keep it. But for me, it's an incredible bit of kit, this is, when you see it working. So, yeah, it's a brilliant investment.
You've only had, like, the stars, for example, it's about 6-7 months now, isn't it? So it's not a long time.
Well, we've been operational. We started, I think the first machine was delivered at Star in November.
Okay, yes.
They did the turnkey on the 38. We've only been fully operational with both machines for 8 weeks today.
Wow.
So it's been a really rapid journey. One of the things when I was obviously buying the machines that quickly came up during the conversations was, you're going to make these parts, but how are you going to measure it? And I was like, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. So again, part of the consultative process with Star was to advise us on what kind of measuring equipment we'd need.
They've helped you with a lot of this,
Yeah,
haven't they?
have, yeah. And I mean, we could have got away with a lot less in the measuring side of things, but one of the issues we've had with quality of the parts is the ability, we've not had the ability to measure them properly. But again, we've now got everything in here. You know, the guys will put a surface finish on a drawing and then they'll go, this is the surface finish it needs to be. They've never had a surface finish tester. Now they've got a surface finish tester.
It's all in one.
Yeah.
It's all in-house.
So everything's all in-house, and the metrology lab, I think we're aiming to get UCAS approval by the end of the year.
Ah, is that where you want to, let's go back into the machine shop. Is that where you said it might be like apprentices? That's where you want to,
100%,
apprenticeships?
Yeah. And for some of the work that we do, it's really critical that we can have kind of a self-managing approach to metrology, because a lot of the contracts require that standard of measurement.
Yes.
Not only for, unlike a subcontractor that needs to make a part to a drawing, we then need to make a part to our drawing, but we also need to be able to prove independently that we've measured that part.
You've measured it.
Yeah.
Again, it's all traceability. It's what everyone wants now.
Yeah.
Right. 2 machines, 2 big Star investments. So we've got the SX38, and you went on to buy the SR32J Type 2.
3. Make sure you say 3. Dan's warned me. He said
Daddy's over there from Star as well. So
he even checked the signs before I had them printed.
I had a slap on the wrist. Yeah. Okay, so this investment, there's another part as well, as you said about autonomy. This is from J&R.
Yep.
This actually goes up and down, but it's parts catcher, because you're doing, you do it, you're not quite yet at nights, are you?
No, so in the next couple of weeks we'll be running the machines longer. The other thing for us that's really important, you saw in the first image, was the surface finish quality.
Yes.
Now actually, the outside surface finish is non-functional, but for a brand that is owning its quality. So again, making sure the parts are not banging themselves into boxes. No. Again, we've got this. Again, collects the oil, returns it in the same way all the rest of the equipment returns the oil to the machine. So, yeah, it works for us.
And Star's helped you out with that as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so machines. Oh, we're going to get stuck down here.
We are.
We're at a dead end here. Is there any room? We'll squeeze through that gap. So tell me a little bit more about your relationship here with Star before, we talk about this other part that I know you want to show us.
Yeah, so we've been obviously engaged since kind of April when I first rung Star to get some help. Dan doesn't live too far away from us, so has always been in contact with us, close contact with us. Yeah. Both Dan and John, as they are there, have been working very heavily together. The feedback process between John ringing Star, whether it's application support, whether it's parts, all the characters that are in Star have just been so amazing at bringing us on board as a company.
Because as a company, you had no idea. You literally went into a meeting in Warwick. Yeah. You realised that actually subcontract work is just not for you. You had loads of problems with it all, and so you were venting for about an hour on the phone to the guys at Star, and we're like, I just need some help, and they've directed you, and there you are now today.
Yeah. And I think I think it's the stability of the production. You know, yes, there's obviously some incredible machine shops out there that do some amazing work, but the issue is what I found the business doing was half its time was being spent building, selling products and shipping them over the world and working with the partners. Half the business was a goods in quality department that was checking 100% of what was coming in because they had to. And we would have dirty parts come in, we'd have wrong tolerances, and you weren't talking microns, yeah? In some cases you were talking millimetres differences. I just had enough.
No, well, there you go. Tell me the story as well as we go around here, as we squeeze through. You bought these without, like, somebody to use them, did you?
Yeah, so you're standing under, obviously, the new mezzanine that was put in recently, and that wasn't here before we bought the machines. This whole workshop, the infrastructure, all the civil engineering work that's gone into it, none of this was here. And actually none of it was here when John started with us, who obviously runs the workshop now. So he kind of understood my craziness because I had an interview here about a machine shop, about a job running machines without a single machine. And I walked out here and there was a couple of benches and a racket. It was full height racking with some products on it. And he was like, right, so where's it going? And I was like, well, it goes here, this is how it's going to look like. And to be fair...
He must have thought you were bonkers.
Yeah, I think he still does.
Yeah. Well, do you think he is?
But he trusted in the vision. And as I said to John, as I said, in the previous conversations about stuff, it's about trust. I trust John implicitly to do the things he needs to do. Our job is to support John in working his way through 70 parts he's got to make internally. And that's been a great journey so far.
And
we're going to have challenges. But
well, of course, as everyone does, but you're providing the goods for him to do that. You're also investing in cameras that sit inside the machines with the screens. I know you know more on this.
Rotoclear cameras.
Rotoclear cameras. There we go.
Now.
Thank you. Investing in those so you can film inside the machine. So John basically can sit next door instead of having to come in every few minutes and check. Well, what's the reason behind this?
I think it's twofold. One, it's good for John because John has got a multi-role here. You know, unlike a traditional shop, you'd have a number of people on the machine floor, then you'd have a quality department, then you'd have someone laser etching, and what we're trying to do is get involvement from the people that work here in all areas of what's going on because it's great to upskill people. But also from my side, I hate the way we view engineering as this like dark, dingy, sometimes place that not a lot of people know about. You know what I mean? And I think for me, by being able to successfully market what we do and have some amazing footage from inside the machines, around the machines, all this area has been cameraed up. So, not only can we watch it, but also we can show prospective customers the machine shop in real time.
Ed, I think you're trying to make engineering sexy.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I
think you pull that up.
Probably.
That sentence up at the moment.
I think that I genuinely do though, because you're bringing it, gone are the days where it's just old school, everything. Now you're going, all right, let's move it. It takes investment.
I said to the guys latter part of last year, I said, actually, I'm so glad we didn't make the journey till this point because
you weren't
the
ready.
SX38 didn't exist. The Type 3 didn't exist. And the technology from things like SolidCam, Star, all of the different partners we're working with, Bowers didn't have the Batty Vision system. So if we'd have invested 4 or 5 years ago, we'd have actually, I probably would have wound me up because I'd have gone, I want the new one. But actually the new one is the autonomy with the machines. And obviously, like everything gets better as time goes on.
It just evolves.
Everything in this building is brand new, the latest we've got, and it's making sure that we're not just buying stuff just for the sake of it, but it's what process does it fit. We are a 3D SolidWorks style company in the way we design, and every part of everything that goes through supports that process.
It is. Right, okay. We've not got long on left on this, so tell me the last couple of things. All right, quick talk.
So,
go on then.
Talk about innovation. So again, quality is a massive part of what we do. We've got a helium leak detection machine that we just walked past, and that
casually walk past that, casually highly technical machine.
And basically, what that does is check the final product for leaks before it leaks, before it leaves the building. And again, that's something a lot of our competition don't do. And for us, again, gives that final quality stamp to say the product's good. So we're walking through the filling area now, so you can see obviously what we put in the cylinders that go into systems, various different areas. Selection of like nitrogen and helium that obviously is detected at that leak station, where we fill another filling station here. So we kind of keep it very lean, the manufacturing. We don't carry a lot of stock on the shelves. We build to order. So it enables us to be a bit more agile in stock. John can produce off the machines in quite a relatively short period. What does he need?
Yeah, well, the thing is with having all of this, you've got control over your product. And if you want to perfect it, you want it to evolve, you can do that here.
And you've not got these, you know, this 6 to 8 week to 12 week lead time when we changed something or wanted something to be developed, or it was a bespoke product for a customer. Watching the guys design it, run it through SolidCam, simulate the machining before it goes on the machine, machine it, and they've got it in their hand an hour to an hour and a half later is very, very special for us. You know,
it really is.
It's a complete transformation for us. So I'm absolutely amazed, very excited where we're going to go. I know the machines will be very, very busy. I'm sure there'll be conversations with Dan in the future about more machines, but for us at the moment, I think it's for me personally.
What's your goal?
Tough one, really, because you could give all the, yes, we want to be the biggest company in the world and everything else. I think I want to be the best at what we do. Yeah. I don't, success measured by pounds and dollars is one thing, but for us, we've got a deep pride and a lot of staff that work here about where the journey's come from, especially in the last 7 years. And I think for us, our passion for what we do is what carries and motivates everyone in the business to move forward. And I think this has given everyone in engineering, production, sales, all the way around the business, a complete revamping excitement for where the business is going.
I really think so. It's a great company, really, really good. Thank you for letting us interview Reacton Fire Suppression. Ed, he's a character. You definitely are.
I keep saying that.
You do, because there's a few expletives that I'm really proud of you that hasn't come out of your mouth. When I walked in, there was about 100 expletives come out.
I never swear.
You've reined it in, you never swear.
Never.
Anyone who knows him, can you write a comment at the bottom and go, he never swears,
I've got a brief
really?
today about being professional, so I'm being very professional.
We've classed ourselves as the most unprofessional professionals.
And I'm stealing that.
Yeah, you're stealing that one. Thank you for watching this week's Swarf and Chip, sponsored by Interco, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for the interview.
Thank you.